It's that time again. Back for the Bro Code Podcast. Produced by Kennedy Lucas.
Hey yo, ATL, stand up. You're locked in with the livest, realest, rawest talk in the game. This is the Bro Code Podcast ATL, where the culture talks back, the vibes stay heavy, and the code always respected. Don't touch that dial. Keep it right here, because we breaking the code live from the A.
Hello and good morning, everyone. This is the Bro Code Podcast ATL live from the studio. We hope everyone has had a great weekend. I, one of your podcast radio show hosts, Kennedy Lucas, and here's the latest in sports news. Even before Ja Morant's post-game comments last week that led to a one-game suspension, followed by the star guard passing on the chance to diffuse tension between himself and the Memphis Grizzlies coaching staff, plenty of eyes were watching how their season would play out. Last spring, after a shocking late-season coaching upheaval and a first-round sweep by the eventual champion Oklahoma City Thunder, Grizzlies general manager Zach Kleiman was blunt in his assessment. "I don't think we can look back at this series and say, oh, we're close," he said. "No, we're not." Then came this summer when Memphis sent Desmond Bane, a pillar of the franchise alongside Morant and big man Jaren Jackson Jr., to the Orlando Magic for a haul of draft picks, backing up Kleiman's words with significant action. The Grizzlies handed Jackson a 5-year, $240 million contract extension and didn't tack on any additional seasons to the 3 years and roughly $126 million owed to Morant. Those moves left Morant and the Grizzlies in a version of NBA limbo entering this season, even before the team's current situation. But Morant is just one of several franchise stars facing uncertain futures in the first few weeks of 2025 to 26. Here is a look at each of them. What league insiders are saying about their individual futures and where their teams are headed, with or potentially without those standouts moving forward. Naturally sparking all kinds of trade speculation, Morant's one-game suspension was the leading conversation piece when speaking with league executives. But any such talk is also low-hanging fruit. The Grizzlies are highly incentivized to make this situation work, and that seems to be what they are still trying to accomplish amid a 3-6 start. I got to say, that was a ballsy move by the coach, a Western Conference general manager said about Grizzlies coach Tuomas Isolos's willingness to confront Morant. When you're a rookie coach and you're into it with a star, you don't have many options. He chose a fight, and the organization backed him up with the suspension. Isolo, who is Finnish and spent his career playing and coaching overseas before last season, has a different viewpoint on game strategy than most of his NBA peers. One of the most obvious is his method of playing lineups in 3 to 4 minute shifts and then mass substituting to encourage continuous high energy play. Isolo won championships in Germany and France playing this way, winning the attention of several NBA teams that wanted to hire him, and he believes strongly that it creates leveraging opportunities. The players on those teams didn't always love the concept at first, Isolo has admitted, but he repeatedly demonstrated an ability to win them over with the tactics. For example, playing with more defensive ball and screen pressure than the opponents combined with more overall pace on offense started working. Morant, whose shooting percentages are at career worst levels, seems to still be in the skeptical camp. That is believed to be a core issue in the player and coach's locker room back and forth that preceded Sunday's suspension. His system is based on having an elite guard who has the ability to get his feet into the paint, and then all his strategy evolves from that. Morant should be a very good fit for it. Isolo was surely excited about that when he got that job. A European executive who knows Isolo's game plans well told ESPN that he is running his system there, but it is not creating the advantages that are expected yet. Bontum. All the drama that's played out over the past few years and the decline in Morant's play from the show-stopping heights of the first couple of seasons of his career, the easy thing to do is to say, well, just find the best trade you can make and move on. In talking with various sources around the league, Morant is still viewed as a borderline top 10 player at the position, and that's before factoring in the previous off-court issues. But there aren't many teams around the league in need of a starting point guard. Morant also remains very popular in Memphis, a market players aren't exactly flocking to, and one in which Morant has repeatedly said he wants to remain. He sells shoes, he sells tickets, and he wants to play in Memphis when no one wants to, a Western Conference assistant coach said. So it makes for a really, really difficult situation. This is not the first time a college or European coach has arrived with the belief they can disrupt the NBA game. And it's not the first time the Stars have been a hard sell. I've never seen drastic change like that work. Going back to Paul Westhead trying to bring his Loyola Marymount system to Denver in 1990. Basketball, just like every team sport, is evolving. The demands on intensity are higher and higher. We are looking to also adapt to the times, Isolo said this week. The only goal of the sub pattern is to find a competitive advantage from it. He doesn't have to sell other teams on it. He has to sell Morant on it. If he doesn't, working together will likely remain tough. The other question sources around the league are asking is whether the Grizzlies at some point this season would entertain moving on from Jackson as well, if they choose to end their partnership with Morant. While there's a clear consensus that there wouldn't be much of a market for Morant, Jackson, floor spacing, rim protecting big, would certainly appeal to plenty of clubs, especially given he's now under contract through 2030, and thus even small market teams could pursue him and know he would be sticking around. That is the same formula that led the Cleveland Cavaliers to swing on Donovan Mitchell and the Minnesota Timberwolves to acquire Rudy Gobert. The two All-Stars had plenty of time left on their deals at the time of their respective trades from the Utah Jazz. He's a perfect complementary guy, an Eastern Conference scout said of Jackson's game, and he can play just about anywhere. But the 6'10" Jackson has averaged more than 6 rebounds just once in his career, making it difficult to play him full-time at center and blunting his value. He also has always been a foul-prone player, averaging 4.4 this season. That said, as a legitimate three-point shooter who has averaged just under 2 blocks for his career, Jackson has the skill set every team is hoping to find in a big. He fills a rare archetype, the scout said. We have seen several recent high-level players who fits a certain sweet spot as a complementary star. Bane, Gobert, and Mikal Bridges to the New York Knicks, for example, be traded for a haul of draft picks. And if Memphis were able to make such a move, it would walk into a loaded 2026 NBA draft with what currently would be 2 lottery picks and potentially more, depending on the outcome of these trades. Kleiman has already accumulated an interesting crop of young talent on this roster, including Cedric Coward, the number 11 pick in this year's draft, Zach Edey, the number 9 selection last year, and Jalen Wells, a second-rounder last year who finished 3rd in Rookie of the Year voting. Before the New Orleans Pelicans picked up wins on back-to-back nights against a pair of banged-up teams, Charlotte Hornets and Dallas Mavericks, earlier this week, there wasn't a more depressing situation in the league in the early going. Every loss would set off another series of reminders around the league that the Pelicans had not only traded their pick in next year's draft in June to the Atlanta Hawks, a selection that could easily wind up near the top of the lottery, but that the Pelicans also dealt the Indiana Pacers back their 2026 top 4 protected first-round pick a few days before Tyrese Halliburton tore an Achilles in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. But the Pacers are 1-7 and are in a 3-way tie with the Brooklyn Nets and the Washington Wizards for the worst record in the NBA. Williamson, meanwhile, is again sidelined with a hamstring injury, further complicating the situation facing new president of basketball operations, Joe Dumars. I am glad he's in shape, a Western Conference scout said of Williamson, but I think he needs to go. I think a change of scenery would make sense for everybody. The intel that exists on Williamson within the league, fairly or not, is not great. There have been numerous coaches, support staff, and teammates that have cycled through New Orleans over the past 7 years, which includes all the injuries and a 1-game suspension in January for being late to a team flight. Stated simply, even with his unusual non-guaranteed contract over the next 2 years that offers the franchise protection, Williamson's trade value isn't super high. To be honest, their move might be a win-now trade, not a Zion trade, a rival executive said. His trade value isn't there, and they are facing some pressure to win. The first order of business for Dumars when he got the job over the summer was to commit to Williamson, closing any speculation about the Pelicans changing direction. Dumars followed that up in the fall with praise about Williamson's offseason work as the Hall of Famer bought into the belief that the former number one pick had turned a corner. It wasn't the first October where this concept emanated from New Orleans, but Williamson backed it up by saying he felt the best physically since his jaw-dropping lone season at Duke in 2018-19. Now, less than 3 weeks into the season, he is missing time with the 5th significant hamstring injury of his career. Joe is smart. He knew the only rational move was to motivate Zion, another executive said. He's still only 25 with a play. Young is on the final guaranteed year of his contract, $46 million, but has a player option next season for $49 million. He is the Hawks' franchise player. They can sign him to an extension at any time. Sources told ESPN that those talks haven't progressed. That is likely because it's hard to determine a market value for Young. He's a 4-time All-Star and led the league in assists per game, 11.6 last season. Over the past 4 years, being built primarily around Young, the Hawks have averaged a modest 40 wins and haven't been over .500 since 2021 to 2022. With that data, the $55 million combined owed to Young cornerstones, Jalen Johnson and Dyson Daniels starting next year, and the impending free agency of center Kristaps Porzingis, the Hawks are being cautious. Young makes the max, and another such deal would mean about $230 million over 4 years, an average of $58 million. The Hawks currently have no other max players on their books. The Hawks have been making smart decisions as a front office, and they have done a nice job judging value on their players, a Western Conference executive said. Trey's agent will spend the next few months working to figure out what his market is, and the Hawks will do their due diligence too, determining what the competition is. And in the end, we'll see who has the best information. Young, unfortunately, is out for a month with a sprained knee suffered last week. This is bad news for the Hawks, though there was relief that he avoided a worse injury. But the rest of the league is watching. If the Hawks offense suffers badly without their longtime playmaking engine, it could create some leverage for Young and his potential next deal. If the younger Hawks keep their heads above water, it might inform decision-making in the other direction. Atlanta is in perhaps the most interesting situation of these teams because of the Pelicans pick that is headed their way and the amount of young talent from Johnson to Daniels to last year's number one. One pick, Zachary Riesacher, already on the roster. The Hawks can afford to sit back and see how this plays out and then determine what direction they want to go. Atlanta has gone 3-1 since Young went down, though 2 of those wins came against bottom-feeding Brooklyn and Indiana, and more reps for Johnson as an on-ball creator will speed up his development. Atlanta is good enough to keep Trey and be good and make the playoffs, an East executive said, but with the pick and Jalen, Dyson, and Zach, they'll at least pick up the phone and listen when called. But as another executive laid out, Atlanta doesn't have another high-level proven shot creator on its roster. And the Hawks have surrounded Young with long athletes to offset his defensive deficiencies. It's an interesting situation, a Western Conference executive said. That team is entirely built around him and his skill set, and I don't see another team that's going to pay $50 million to bring him in on a max deal next summer. He's the engine that makes that ship go. It will be interesting to see what it looks like there without him.
Welcome to Gridiron Crossroads, your weekly deep dive into the most compelling stories across the professional and collegiate football landscapes. I'm Marcus Thompson, joined as always by our insightful sports commentator, Tyler Brooks. Tyler, Week 10 of the NFL season delivered a seismic shift, didn't it? From thrilling finishes to unexpected upsets, there's no shortage of discussion. We saw the Broncos' defense once again carry them to victory despite quarterback Bo Nix's struggles and Jonathan Taylor's career-best performance for the Colts in Berlin. The Jets surprisingly thrived post-trade, showcasing some incredible special teams. And the Patriots? They're now looking like legitimate AFC contenders. What caught your eye first?
Marcus, it was a wild weekend, no doubt. I mean, the Jets pulling off that special teams magic with 2 return touchdowns against the Browns after trading away some serious talent, that just screamed team morale booster to me. And down in Foxborough, the Patriots really made a statement against a strong Buccaneers team. That win solidifies them as a force to be reckoned with in the AFC. We've got a lot to unpack, but those were definitely some of the opening acts that had me on the edge of my seat, partner.
Let's dive deeper into those AFC narratives, Tyler. The Jets, after those blockbuster trades involving Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams, managed to secure their second consecutive win. Will McDonald 4 with 4 sacks, Breece Hall's 125 total yards. It seems the players mentioned in trade talks were the ones stepping up. Does this performance suggest the best trades are the ones you don't make adage is proving true for New York?
Absolutely, Marcus. It's a huge psychological win for the Jets. They showed resilience, and those individual performances from guys like McDonald and Hall were phenomenal. Then you look at the Dolphins. They finally put together a 4-quarter effort against the Bills, holding Josh Allen to half his usual rushing average. Is this the start of a genuine turnaround, or just another blip in their roller coaster season? And the Patriots, beating the NFC South leading Buccaneers with rookies Kyle Williams and Tre'Veon Henderson making explosive plays, they've truly earned respect as a top AFC team. Coach Vrabel has them believe in, and the numbers don't lie about that rookie speed.
Turning to the NFC, we saw a mixed bag for rookie quarterbacks. Tyler Shaw had a standout performance for the Saints, throwing for 282 yards and 2 touchdowns in his second start, igniting their downfield passing game. Conversely, J.J. McCarthy for the Vikings started strong but struggled in the middle, throwing 2 interceptions and failing to produce late-game magic. And then there's the precarious situation with Jackson Dart of the Giants.
Yeah, Marcus. Shaw looked like a real bright spot for New Orleans, especially after losing Rashid Shaheed. But Dart, bless his heart, took a beating for the Giants. That concussion exit raises serious questions about protecting his mobility. Speaking of the Giants, their tendency to blow double-digit leads is becoming a tragic trend. Losing 4 games after leading by 10 points or more is just gut-wrenching for their fans. And what about Caleb Williams? Another game-winning drive for the Bears, battling through dropped passes to seal the deal with his legs. He's showing that clutch factor, even when the rest of the offense isn't fully clicking. It's a QB league, and the NFC is seeing some wild swings right now.
Switching gears to the college gridiron, Week 11 brought its own brand of drama, significantly impacting the college football playoff landscape. With the new 12-team format, every game feels amplified. Kyle Bonagura and Mark Schlabach's latest projections are out, and there are some real surprises. Texas Tech, for instance, delivered the biggest win by handing BYU its first loss and solidifying its Big 12 dominance. But beyond the top contenders, there's significant chaos brewing, especially within the ACC and the Group of 5 conferences, isn't there, Tyler?
You said it, Marcus. Texas Tech absolutely planted their flag, showing they're a legit title contender. And BYU's in an interesting spot for an at-large bid now. But the ACC, my goodness, it's a mosh pit. 5 one-loss teams, Georgia Tech, Virginia, Pittsburgh, SMU, Duke, all vying for position, and each with a tough road ahead. Pittsburgh's on a 5-game winning streak, but their schedule is brutal. And the Group of 5 picture is just as murky. Memphis lost, so North Texas, Tulane, James Madison, San Diego State, even South Florida are all in the mix for that crucial spot. It's a true free-for-all, and that's exactly what the new playoff format was designed to deliver, partner.
Indeed, the new format certainly adds excitement. Looking ahead to the CFP quarterfinals, Bonagura and Schlabach have some intriguing matchups. We're talking potential rematches like Alabama-Georgia in the Cotton Bowl and perhaps Indiana-Oregon, which Bonagura suggests goes against the spirit of the rankings for entertainment value. Ohio State continues to cruise, routing Purdue, and quarterback Julian Sayin is a Heisman frontrunner. The Buckeyes look unstoppable, don't they?
They sure do, Marcus. Ohio State's defense is the best in the FBS, and Sayin is just tearing it up. Schlabach even considered moving Texas A&M to number 1 because of Ohio State's strength of schedule, but the Buckeyes' performance against Purdue was dominant. These hypothetical quarterfinal matchups are going to be wild. Texas A&M picking up another big road victory at Missouri keeps them firmly in contention, and if the Aggies and Red Raiders meet in the Sugar Bowl, that's a Lone Star State bragging rights game for sure. Indiana getting dinged one spot after needing a miracle touchdown against Penn State just shows how razor-thin the margins are at this level. Every win counts, but how you win matters for perception.
From the NFL's surprising Week 10 developments to the intensifying college football playoff race, we're witnessing compelling sports narratives unfold. The resilience of teams like the Jets, defensive dominance, and game-changing rookies are shaping the professional landscape. In college, the expanded playoff is amplifying stakes, creating a more dynamic path to the national championship. What's your biggest takeaway, Tyler, looking at the entire football scene?
Marcus, it's the sheer unpredictability and high stakes every weekend. In the NFL, parity is real. No lead is safe. Any team can upset. Coaching adjustments and rookie development dictate seasons. In college, the 12-team playoff means no conference champion is truly safe, and even one-loss teams like Texas Tech can contend. It's fantastic for fans, creating drama until the end. A great time to be a football fan. It'll only get more exciting.
Absolutely. A huge thanks to Tyler Brooks for his exceptional insights today. And thank you for tuning in to Gridiron Crossroads. We'll be back next week to break down all the latest in football. Until then, enjoy.
The NBA's power structure has been completely flipped on its head this season. The defending champion Thunder are 8-0, while traditional powerhouses struggle. Let me tell you why this might be the most fascinating start to a season we've seen in decades.
You know what really jumps out to me? The way these young teams are dominating. The Thunder and Spurs sitting at 1 and 2 in the rankings. That's something nobody predicted.
Speaking of those Thunder, they've managed to keep their entire championship core together, which is pretty remarkable in this era of salary cap constraints. And now they've got Ajay Mitchell stepping up big time. 17.3 points in 27.6 minutes is seriously impressive for a second-year player.
That's exactly what makes their success sustainable, the continuity. But let's talk about these Spurs at number 2. Dylan Harper was averaging 14 points on 50% shooting before that calf injury. That's got to be concerning for a team that's been rolling.
Well, the most shocking development has to be the Bulls sitting at 6-1. I mean, this is a team that most analysts had written off completely before the season started. Though I have to point out their new addition, Isaac Okoro, is only averaging 6 points on 38.5% shooting.
What's really interesting about the Bulls is that they're doing it with defense, ranked 12th overall. That's a complete identity shift from what we've seen from them in recent years.
And then there's the Lakers situation. Going 6-2 without LeBron James is unprecedented. You know, in all of LeBron's career, his teams have never had this kind of success without him in the lineup. Their newcomers are really making their presence felt.
The way Jake LaRavia, DeAndre Ayton, and Marcus Smart have integrated into that system is remarkable. LaRavia especially, 12.6 points on 58.5% shooting while leading the team in deflections. That's exactly what they needed.
Let's talk about Kevin Durant in Houston for a minute. They're averaging 127.8 points through their first 5 games. That's the highest in Rockets history. But here's what's fascinating. In their last game, Durant was actually their third leading scorer behind Sengun and Thompson.
So what do you make of the VJ Edgecombe situation in Philadelphia? 20 points per game as a rookie is pretty exceptional.
That's been absolutely incredible to watch. He's shooting over 49% from the field and 42% from 3. Those are veteran numbers. And remember, this is the guy Philadelphia tanked for last season. Looking pretty smart now, right?
The coaching changes have been fascinating too. Mike Brown taking over in New York has had some early challenges, but that win against Chicago might be the turning point they needed.
You know what's really caught my eye? The way these veteran additions are playing out. Take Al Horford in Golden State. That Denver game showed exactly why they wanted him, but managing his minutes is going to be crucial. He's already missed 3 games, and they're being super careful with his playing time.
Well, that's becoming more common across the league, this strategic rest approach. Look at how Portland is handling Drew Holiday. He's completely transformed their defense while still staying fresh.
The Cooper flag experiment in Dallas is particularly intriguing. Here's an 18-year-old trying to learn point guard at the NBA level. That's like trying to learn to fly a commercial airliner while actually flying passengers. His numbers aren't pretty, but the Mavs seem totally committed to the process.
That's a perfect analogy. And it reminds me of what's happening in Charlotte with Con Newpel. 43.1% from 3 on 7.3 attempts per game. Sometimes these rookies just need the right situation.
The situation in Brooklyn is becoming really concerning, though. They're 0-7, and when your head coach, Jordi Fernandez, is publicly saying, I'm failing at trying to get my guys to play hard, that's a major red flag. Michael Porter Jr. is putting up numbers, but it feels empty right now.
The contrast between teams like Brooklyn and Oklahoma City really highlights how important organizational culture has become in the NBA, doesn't it?
Absolutely fascinating point. And with this new NBA Cup tournament adding another layer of competition, these early season games matter more than ever. Teams can't afford to coast anymore. Every game has implications.
Looking ahead, what storylines are you watching most closely as we move deeper into the season?
Well, there are 3 big things I'm tracking. First, can the Thunder maintain this historic start? Second, how will these injuries to key players like Dylan Harper and Trae Young impact their team's development? And finally, will we see any major trades as struggling teams like the Nets try to right the ship?
That's going to be fascinating to watch unfold. The league feels more unpredictable than it has in years.
You know what makes this season so special? It feels like we're watching the torch being passed in real time. The old guard is still there, but these young teams and players are really asserting themselves. It's like watching the future of the NBA take shape right before our eyes.
Cleveland Guardians pitchers Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz were charged with fraud, conspiracy, and bribery stemming from an alleged scheme to rig individual pitches that led to gamblers winning hundreds of thousands of dollars, according to an indictment unsealed by federal prosecutor Sunday. Ortiz, 26, was arrested Sunday morning in Boston and will appear in court Monday, according to prosecutors. Clase, 27, is not in custody. Prosecutors at the Eastern District in New York, the Brooklyn-based United States Attorney's Office that levied similar charges against NBA player Terry Rozier and multiple coaches in late October, said in an indictment that Clase arranged with the bettor as early as May 2023 to throw specific pitches for balls so the gambler could place prop bets and profit. Ortiz, prosecutor said, joined the scheme in June 2025. And between the two, gamblers won at least $450,000 wagering on their pitches, while Clase and Ortiz were given kickbacks for their participation. Clase and Ortiz each could face up to 20 years in prison for wire fraud conspiracy, 20 years for honest services wire fraud conspiracy, 20 years for money laundering conspiracy, and 5 years for conspiracy to influence sporting events by bribery, according to prosecutors. The defendants deprived the Cleveland Guardians in Major League Baseball of their honest services. Joseph Nocella Jr., the U.S. attorney for the Eastern District, said in a statement, they defrauded the online betting platforms where the bets were placed, and they betrayed America's pastime. Integrity, honesty, and fair play are part of the DNA of professional sports. When corruption infiltrates the sport, it brings disgrace not only to participants, but damages the public trust in an institution that is vital and dear to all of us. In a statement to ESPN, Ortiz's attorney Chris Georgalis denied the charges, saying his client has never and would never improperly influence a game, not for anyone and not for anything. A message to Clase's attorney seeking comment has not been returned. Clase, a 3-time All-Star and 2-time Reliever of the Year, and Ortiz were placed on non-disciplinary paid leave by MLB in July after betting integrity firms flagged irregular wagering on a pair of pitches thrown by Ortiz in June. While the pervasiveness of legalized gambling has upended the sports world, The allegations against Claes and Ortiz are the most severe for the sport since Pete Rose agreed to a lifetime ban for betting on baseball in 1989. MLB's rules against gambling on the sport are strict, and Claes and Ortiz could face lifetime bans similar to the one delivered last year to San Diego Padres infielder Tucupita Marcano, who placed nearly 400 bets on baseball. In a statement, MLB said, MLB contacted federal law enforcement at the outset of an investigation and has fully cooperated throughout the process. We are aware of the indictment and today's arrest, and our investigation is ongoing. The Guardians in a statement said they were aware of the charges and will continue to cooperate with law enforcement and MLB. In a 23-page indictment, prosecutors outlined a scheme perpetrated by Claes, the right-hander regarded as one of the best relief pitchers in baseball. According to prosecutors, Claes would regularly throw balls instead of strikes and sliders rather than cutters on the first pitch of at-bats, in which bettors would wager on the individual pitches to be balls, or under a specific MPH threshold. The proposition bets, according to the indictment, would often be stacked in a parlay, leading to greater winnings. Claes provided money to bettors to gamble on his behalf, texted with bettors during games, and later was joined in the scheme by Ortiz, a right-hander who joined the Guardians in a December 2024 trade. The indictment said. The earliest example, according to the indictment, came in a May 19, 2023, game between the Guardians and New York Mets, in which Claes relayed information that he would throw a pitch faster than 94.95 miles per hour. Bettors, prosecutors said, won $27,000 on that pitch. Weeks later, bettors added a leg to a parlay for a pitch to be a ball slower than 94.95 miles per hour, and won $38,000 when Clay spiked a slider at least 5 feet in front of home plate. By April 2025, the indictment said Clay requested and received bribe and kickback payments in exchange for agreeing to throw specific pitches. One day after throwing a pitch that hit the grass in front of home plate, about 10 feet short, Clay texted one bettor asking if he had gambled on the pitch, according to the indictment. When the bettor affirmed he had, the indictment said Clay asked for money to be sent to the Dominican Republic, where Clay, Ortiz, and the bettor are from, for repairs at the country house. During the 3 years of the alleged scheme, prosecutors said one bettor placed 16 parlays, in which one leg was Clay throwing a ball. Of the 8 pitches involved in those bets, 7 were successful. The 8th was a pitch in the dirt swung at by Los Angeles Dodgers outfielder Andy Pages. Ortiz's involvement started June 15, 2025, according to the indictment, when he agreed with Clay that he would be paid $5,000 to throw the first pitch of the second inning for a ball. Clay, prosecutors said, received $5,000 for arranging the alleged fraud. 2 bettors wagered a total of $13,000 on the pitch, the indictment said. When Ortiz received a payment of 90,000 Dominican pesos, approximately $1,400, Clay directed him to lie about the purpose of the money if asked and say, "This payment is for a horse," according to prosecutors. "Okay, perfect," Ortiz said. On June 27, 2025, Ortiz agreed to throw the first pitch of the 3rd inning for a ball in exchange for $7,000, the indictment said. Bank security footage captured Clay withdrawing $50,000 in cash, of which he gave $15,000 to one of the bettors, who was in Cleveland that day, to wager on the pitch, according to prosecutors. The bettors placed $18,000 on the pitch, which was far outside the strike zone, according to the indictment. Jorgalis disputed the indictment's findings in his statement. As Luis' defense team extensively explained and documented to government before these charges were brought, Luis' payments and other transfers of money between him and individuals in the Dominican Republic were for lawful activities, the statement read. Notably, the indictment completely lacks any alleged evidence connecting Luis to these alleged bettors or demonstrating any purposeful involvement in the scheme. There is no credible evidence Luis knowingly did anything other than try to win games, with every pitch and in every inning. Luis looks forward to fighting these charges in court. The government's case is weak and circumstantial. He will defend himself, and he will be prevail. Clay has made more than $12 million over a major league career that has spanned 7 seasons, and he was scheduled to make $6.4 million in 2026. Ortiz's salary in 2025 was $782,600. The next sports news on Bro Code Podcast ATL. Japanese star third baseman Munetaka Murakami is entering the posting system Friday, officially starting the process of one of the most anticipated free agencies of the winter, sources told ESPN. Murakami, 25, owns a single-season home run record for a Japanese player in Nippon professional baseball, having hit 56 in 2022 to break Sadaharu's record 55, which was set in 1964. A prolific power hitter, Murakami leaves the Tokyo Yakult Swallows with 246 home runs over his 8 seasons in Japan. His slugging prowess is expected to draw widespread interest among Major League Baseball teams this winter. Murakami's 45-day window to sign will start at 8 a.m. ET Saturday, sources said, ensuring he will sign with a big league team before it expires at 5 p.m. On December 22, Murakami, who also can play first base, is one of the jewels of a deep class of players expected to come from Asia this winter. Others expected to join MLB teams through the posting system, which facilitates the transfer of players whose rights teams still control from Japan and Korea to MLB, and international free agency include right-hander Tatsuya Mai, first baseman Kazuma Okamoto, and right-hander Kona Takahashi. Also expected to return to MLB are right-hander Cody Ponce, who went 17-1 with a 1.89 ERA in the Korea Baseball Organization, and left-handers Foster Griffin and Anthony Kay, both of whom pitched in Japan. A left-handed hitter, Murakami played in just 56 games this year because of an oblique injury, but nonetheless whacked 22 home runs with a .273/.379/.663/ line. While concerns over his propensity to strike out, and particularly his in-zone swing-and-miss rate, will give teams pause, Murakami's age and upside are tantalizing enough that his free agency is expected to turn into a frenzy. The addition of Japanese players has fueled the past 2 championships, with Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto leading the Los Angeles Dodgers to World Series victories. Los Angeles guaranteed more than $1 billion to sign Ohtani as a free agent and pluck Yamamoto from the Oryx Buffaloes through the posting system. MLB teams that sign players through posting must pay a fee to the Asian team from which the player transfers. 20% for the first $25 million, 17.5% for the next $25 million, and an additional 15% on every dollar above $50 million. Murakami is widely expected to fetch a 9-figure deal, with a posting fee of at least $16.9 million on top of it. High-ranking MLB executives scouted multiple games of Murakami this season and emerged impressed, sources said. In his 8 seasons with the Swallows following his debut as an 18-year-old, Murakami hit .270/.394/.557 with a walk rate of greater than 16% and a strikeout rate nearing 26%.
Hi everyone, I am Jackson Smith for Bro Code Podcast ATL, and here's the latest on WWE. Friday's SmackDown felt like a reset episode, where big moments and plot points occurred with different WWE superstars, a launchpad for new things coming. We saw a new champion crowned, a returning talent, and the world title picture turned at least half a page, or progressed further than just Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre. The U.S. Championship Open Challenge continues to be a lot of fun, and we have new challengers for the Women's Tag Team Championship. The March to Survivor Series, War Games on Our Bridge to WrestleMania season is hitting one of the final chapters before Royal Rumble season truly takes over. The match between Rhodes and Black ended in a no contest after McIntyre, whom Rhodes said he's moving on from earlier in the night, hit the referee with a Claymore. SmackDown General Manager Nick Aldis promptly suspended McIntyre as a result, a sequence of events that probably removes him from the title picture for now. Unless we get a fatal 4-way in the near future, as Damian Priest also joined the party at the end. Black is an interesting challenger for Rhodes, even if not one I believe would defeat him for the championship right now. Zelina Vega being in the mix makes me wonder if WWE runs a husband and wife match back, given the success of Seth Rollins / Becky Lynch versus CM Punk / AJ Lee, and we see the return of Brandy Rhodes. The U.S. Championship Open Challenge does have its own personal challenge. Because it's contested every single week, it needs wrinkles to keep it fresh and interesting. With Sami Zayn and then Ilya Dragunov as the anchors, it has delivered great matches. And for the past couple of weeks, Tommaso Ciampa has been angling for a match. Last week, he was a competitor too late, and on Friday, Dragunov flat out ignored him, choosing to face Johnny Gargano instead. The match was a lot of fun, something to be expected with these two high-octane students of the game. I feel like the Ciampa-Dragunov drama has a couple of more weeks left in it. Jade Cargill had a very short promo, just a few words, and it was perfect. She doesn't need to say much. Her actions say more than enough. She's already a star. Any filibustering would only bring diminishing returns to her aura. The segment backstage with Cargill, who interacted briefly with Chelsea Green and B-Fab, which set up a match next week on SmackDown, was fine, but it wasn't needed to buy into Cargill as a dominant athlete. I liked the moment shared in the aisle between Cargill and Charlotte Flair, which surprisingly didn't end in fists. I liked Cargill eventually vanquishing the most decorated women's champion of all time and adding that to her resume. Lash Legend returned to SmackDown to help Nia Jax defeat Charlotte Flair, and the former WNBA player looks to be aligned with Jax, with whom she battled in NXT. Jax dismissed any animosity between the two after the match in a backstage interview, saying the pair are friends. Jax and Legend as challengers to the Flair and Alexa Bliss tag titles is very interesting. Chelsea Green defeated Julia to regain the Women's United States Championship. This adds to the AAA Mixed Tag Team Championship she won with Ethan Page, who is also the NXT North American Champion. This is a smart and logical move, as the pair can now own North America. It reminds me of when Lance Storm won multiple WCW titles and renamed them all in honor of Canada, except I don't think Page and Green, despite both being Canadian, will do that with their titles. Green is highly entertaining, especially on the mic. Page has been ready for the big time. This is a great pairing. After Tala Tonga defeated Rey Fenix, Solo Sikoa asked Tonga to pick Phoenix up to attack him further, which brought a still injured and uncleared to compete Sami Zayn to make the save. Michael Cole noted in commentary that a lot of superstars, including Shinsuke Nakamura and the Motor City Machine Guns, have issues with MFD, which screams Survivor Series match to me. Next on Bro Code Podcast ATL, the women's college volleyball season is in the stretch run. We will run weekly updates on the field of 64 until it's officially revealed by the selection committee on November 30, 6 p.m. ESPN. There are 31 automatic bids, with 33 at-large teams chosen by the NCAA Volleyball Committee. Volleyball seeds the top 8 teams in each region, and the top 4 in each region serve as first and second-round hosts. The rest of the bracket is filled out to balance it competitively and geographically. The highest remaining seeds also host the regionals, and the 2025 Final Four is in Kansas City, Missouri, on December 18, with the finals on December 21. Halloween weekend was a scary one for previously unbeaten Texas, with a pair of losses. The Longhorns lost their grip on the SEC race after falling to Texas A&M in 5 sets, and then suffered a sweep to Kentucky. That further solidified Nebraska's spot as the No. 1 overall team in the country. The Cornhuskers, who haven't lost a set since mid-September, are the only undefeated team left in the country. Meanwhile, Texas did not fall off the top line. With a No. 2 RPI ranking, the country's top-rated schedule, and 8 top 25 RPI wins, the Longhorns remain a firm No. 1 seed. The win for the Wildcats did catapult them to the top line. Kentucky is unbeaten in conference play, with 4 matches to play.
Hey yo, ATL, stand up. You're locked in with the livest, realest, rawest talking the game. This is the Bro Code Podcast ATL, where the culture talks back, the vibes stay heavy, and the code always respected. Don't touch that dial. Keep it right here, because we breaking the code live from the A.